How's it going, guys? Pizza time, we're back again. Mr. Hardwick, what's going down?
No.
All right, see you later, guys.
There goes that. Quickest, best podcast ever.
Efficient.
Yeah, it's all good. Just down south, doing a bit of training and that. Both got fights. Mine is June 25th in Belfast against Federico Pasquale. George's is July
22nd against Kyle Driscoll. When I first got the name, that sounded like some Irish rugby player or something, but it's an American.
Yeah, it's interesting that because it's completely different regions, different sort of styles as well and records. Like Pasquale's all like finishes most of it.
He's 7-0. I think he has one decision somewhere. But it's like is 6 of those 7 have been shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has fought really poor opposition. And then the 7, which is Paul McBain, he looked quite like I don't want to talk shit about him. He's a sound guy, but he looked a bit flat that fight. Stockbridge looked early. Yeah, but because of this, we don't really know a whole lot about Pasquale. Like, you don't know what you don't like. There's just not a lot to go on, which is interesting. It's fun. We get to discover some stuff about him that he probably doesn't even know himself.
Wow, where are you looking?
Ask
him on what he's like. See what he's
I'm
going
going to have a very thorough feeling out process.
That's just in changing rooms as well. If you don't get caught by Graham. But with that anyway, it's an interesting one. Obviously with the Italian side of like MMA, you see a lot of the same kind of, I don't know, very aggressive starters and then kind of burning out as the fight goes on. In regards of that kind of opponent, you're kind of used to that really, aren't you? You've had a lot of fights recently.
Yeah. I've just generally had a lot of people who've like come at me and try to kill me right away and then got very tired and I beat them up. He's very, like, even in the fights against like some cans who are like a foot shorter than him with tits, he still looked really tired when he's not meeting any resistance, and it's like, yeah, it's not going to bode well for him.
You can't blame someone for having a tag.
See him on OnlyFans soon.
Yeah, fair dues.
You seen the one on OnlyFans? I think it was Craig Wood or whatever it was on Sport Bible. It was one that got shared. It was like an absolute athlete versus a guy just like, I don't know. It was a bad like journeyman match.
Oh yeah, OnlyCans is a hell of a page. I like OnlyCans. Are we any closer to figuring out who it is yet?
Me and him DM, and the reason we DM is because people accuse me of being him, and I'm not OnlyCans. It's funny, but it's a bit too spiteful for my sort of humour, but either way. He's God's work, he's a vigilante.
Yeah, like, the UK MMA scene has needed that for a while.
I think I appreciate his work calling out the can crushers more than calling out the cans, because some of them, they are just jumping in to get 100 quid because it goes into the family's pockets. Some people are just looking for some sesh money.
Yeah, it's most of them. It's
most.
Like, you get fucking 99.9% of them. It's sesh money.
Yeah, but you get a few where they might just be trying to make ends meet a little bit better. But it's the can crushers.
Yeah.
Paint the picture. You're woken up, it's Saturday morning, you're skint, your mates are going out tonight. What's the first thing you think of? Is it borrow off your mate? Is it, ask people on the street? Nah, that's a bit too much now. I'm going to go see if insert fight show him, I'm going to name one. Fancies someone getting their shit pushed in for 100 quid. That's my night sort.
I mean, it doesn't really function anymore, but like MMA Total Combat, which was in its heyday was glorious, had like Dan Severn, Ross Pierce and all these people on it, but then just slowly devolved into the point where it was just like all the reprobates from like Spennymoor and Durham would just use it to get sesh money.
Funding crackheads.
Well, what was it? Oh, there was no, it'd been naming names and blaming people. So I'll
Joe Bloggs and Joe Bloggs as manager.
Yeah. So I'm not going to do that actually.
Give them Italian names.
So Pasquale's doing
this. Well, just if you want to talk about cans in UK MMA, just Darren Moffat's your man. To be fair, like Quarantine Fight Club. That was special.
That was an art form. So for anyone who isn't familiar with Quarantine Fight Club, can you fill people in?
So basically, when lockdowns happened and we didn't know a whole lot about COVID, so He rightly assumed it was more dangerous than it is, just to be on the safe side. So everyone, for the most part, was sticking to lockdowns and all this. But Darren Moffat, a hero of the people, managed to just get... Because what Darren Moffat does is he gets cans for fighter shows. So he's like, if you want cans, you call Darren Moffat, and then he calls his cans, and then they rock up in like
With cans.
with cans in a people carrier to get money for cans. Yeah,
Like Costco.
so Darren Moffat just found some space and just made his cans fight each other and live streamed it on
in
Facebook.
various warehouses and abandoned looking gyms. It was brilliant.
There is something so glorious and brilliant about bad fights and just shit fighting.
Now, was this a Mandela effect, or did Danny Mitchell make a tournament for journeyman?
I think as a result of that.
Yeah, I don't know if
I don't know if it came off because I think more lockdowns and stuff happened, and he wanted to put it on an actual fight show. But yeah,
I saw a poster for it.
Yeah, there was,
Yeah, definitely was real, wasn't it?
because I'd been suggesting this for years. To be fair, I was thinking like the can could be like, I mean the belt would actually be made of cans. Like it would be great, but I don't have the, what's the word?
The cans.
The connections or the patience or the organisational skills or the money to put such a thing on. But Danny Mitchell has all those things and could do it. So fair play to him.
I mean, that'd be the art as well, because what's the thing to get all the re-streets, the 0 and 46s, whatever else, to go and fight each other? But at that point, you're just like 4 and 50 something. Then what?
Thing is, though, with like...
Then it goes to 5, and then 6.
You break even.
Yeah, that's the dream.
If you started from scratch, you're 0-0. You then take a few L's. What's the amount of losses you reckon you could get and then come back and break even after that? What point do you draw a line?
Because the thing is, there's been a lot of Japanese fighters through that way. Like Manawa Man comes to mind. He was like, he lost his first 8 or 10 fights before
Really?
pulling back and getting punched in the face, but heel hooking various people. Yeah, like certain fights in Japan where they'd get a hometown fighter. Like Sakuraba, they got a hometown fighter. He got mashed by Vanderlei, and the plan was just to put him back in with Vanderlei. Like 40 pounds later, and he's just got mashed. Like it's just a different view of it.
What about you, Harry? How many losses you can take and then get stuck in again and catch up?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you could technically get a fuck ton, but then if you end up pally with some promoter, they could just give you a fuck ton of cans or a fuck ton of fights against the same can. you could sort it out that way. Like, if all you cared about was the record and the numbers on the record, it just
You make it work.
yeah. There's no number that's unfeasible.
Stack them up and knock them down. One
Pretty
can.
much, yeah. Like, have you seen what was it? The Steve Martin film, The Jerk,
Oh yeah.
where he's like, man, he really hates those cans. I'm shocked that clip has not ended up on like an only cans edit yet. That's my request to him.
Sauce it. I don't know which camera's on.
Just
Sauce it.
You don't look to the camera, you look to the sky.
That's it. Obrigado, Jesus Bob.
please only cans. Can we use some Steve Martin clips? Well, just that one specific Steve Martin clip. And if you could find any more that are appropriate, that would be nice.
Please, Steve Mark, can we use your content without getting copyright, please? Plagiarism. Where did this even start? I don't even know. But it just keeps on going. And
We were talking about
Well,
back
welcome to a Hardwick Brothers podcast.
back to the best conversation topic right now is how many cans back to back on the same night could you fight without gassing or without being done? So say
like what level of can are we talking about here?
it's a weird. That's already a hard question because they're not necessarily always bad. Some of them just to take a quick loss, quick way out and get paid. I don't know what level we're gonna say.
Alright, so if we're gonna go for like a can that tries, so like
Can that gives it till they get got.
that. I'm trying to think of one. Restreet maybe, because like
He's got knockouts.
Yeah,
before.
he's got knockouts and has like submitted someone. I think, yeah. So maybe Restreet. So say if like there was an end of stream of Restreets. I think I'd have a good 3 hours
You'd be there. Sakuraba Gracie.
Of just beating Reece Streets one after the other, before it starts getting a bit leery. Whereas I feel like a Wes O'Neill, I could probably do like a 24-hour stint.
For charity.
For charity. Just a 24-hour stint. beating clones of Wes O'Neill.
The thing is, the morality of most of these like shows, they put him on back again for 24 hours. They just see if he can do it. They just take the ref out.
Oh. I mean, he gives up before he gets hurt, so it's just fine.
Was it him where he fought twice in the same show, and then the second time they brought him in, they gave him a different name. They called him like Bartholomew Johnson.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. I've seen that with like
C3. I think a few of them get like Tapology, like, you know, cancelled.
Yeah, Marcus Hammond once, I think, fought as Marcus Hammond and as Bonham McGregor on the same show.
Bonham McGregor.
I'm sure that's a thing. Oh, what was the show? What was it?
Matt Bonham McGregor.
Oh, bollocks. I'm sure that's a thing. I might have to have a sneaky Google of it under the table, which is probably not
the words to say on a camera, but either way.
Yeah.
So switch the same question. Every next can is like a zombies on COD kind of thing. The next one's progressively stronger or a bit better, that sort of thing.
This is now more complicated.
It gets more meta and more meta as it goes along. How many waves of incrementally better Reece Streets, or how many at the same time?
How many? Oh, that because I think you'd probably end up struggling by 3. Like, I reckon I could maybe fight 2 Reece Streets at once. But
Well, let's stop naming as the actual individual. Let's go with 2 at the same time, 2 journeymen. How would you address that? What's the plan A?
Like, what space are we in? Like,
You're in a cage.
In a cage. Yeah.
Pro size, space to move, but not like space to run away too far.
That makes it trickier.
you kind of have to be on the back foot, and you'd want the cage behind you, even though that's sort of generally not like good practice in one-on-one fighting. You'd want it behind you when there's 2 of them, because then that would mean they were both in front of you.
Because like in a theoretical fightonomic situation, you'd try and like
Fightonomics.
you'd try and like battle of Thermopylae at like hot gates, find a doorway or something, and then just hope you don't break your hands as this never-ending wave of cans comes in.
You walk through the doorway.
But you can't do that in a cage.
You can't grapple really, can you, either?
You would probably you would want the back to the fence.
You'd probably have to sort of Woodley it a little bit, wouldn't you?
Traditional
Not
ring,
nothing.
Well, maybe
Make
not,
rap songs that don't do
maybe
anything.
not Woodley.
traditional ring craft just goes out the window.
Yeah, you'd have to. You'd be on the back foot. Plenty of like stabby front kicks, maybe. Like nothing that can be caught. Like you really wouldn't want to be throwing anything that could get caught by one of them, because then you'd be on one leg.
I need to watch the case study again when it's like some dweebish Batman and Robin versus Spider-Man. That's a famous clip.
Yeah. What was the rumour that was McGregor and the Spider-Man just beating the shit up to Batman? That's what I always...
That was like a follow-on from some like Britain's Hardest Man thing where like they were doing all these promo videos with these like dorks, and it was like they were
beating the shit out.
No, I'm sure there was like some. It was an MMA gym put on like this Britain's Hardest Man thing, and then they were like interviewing these people, and there was these proper dorks, and then they had this like hard man going, "You don't want to be a Chihuahua, you want to be a pit bull, or a Rottweiler," and I was just like, and I'm sure like those 2 in the Batman and Robin costume were from that, and then
Got made viral.
and then we don't know who Spider-Man is.
Maybe it's a can. Maybe it's someone who's really good right now. Who do you reckon it is? Starbender.
I think it would, I feel like, his style would be appropriate, I guess.
Be some arbitrary guy in cage warriors you've never heard of.
It would just be some guy from the gym, from just some gym, won't it? It'll just be someone who no one has heard of, who was like, that is just his like little fact that I once dressed as Spider-Man in a viral clip of me beating up.
I would have liked him, sort of thing.
Bob Mortimer, yeah. He reads it on the show.
Bob Mortimer again.
It's the idea, like, when I lied to you or something like that. I was Spider-Man and got beaten up by a man dressed as Batman on a random promotion that no one's ever heard of.
Oh, well, it was on a big open mat, wasn't it? Speaking of Bob Mortimer, like when he's been on Would I Lie to You, there's been like we've had spoilers because like our mum's friends with like one of his aunties or something, and when it was like he set fireworks off in his house when he was a kid, Mum was like, "Yep, I've heard that story." Like just straight away. Does everyone in Middlesbrough just know everyone? Is that a thing?
That's it. You guys are the hardest men in Middlesbrough. You were like known walking about. Part of my boys, pizza time, this, that, and the other, getting stopped.
No, maybe.
You just go around, George, with a pizza, like intimidating everyone, saying, "Do you want a slice?" And looking at their liver, like, "Do you want it?"
If they say no, then what happens?
Well, that's it. There's so much to go into, but regards to like this time now, whilst you've got fights going on, obviously travelling quite a bit. Is that something you always try and get in when you can, outside of camp as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just doing a lot more travelling generally now because my girlfriend lives 200 miles away, and just started this while petrol prices doubled, which was very, very smart financial decision. But yeah, it's just good to mix in with like other people and see how other gyms train and like get a different perspectives on techniques and positions and stuff.
I don't know. I don't really think I just sit in the passenger seat and end up places.
It's like magic, fast travel.
Yeah.
You pretty much are.
It's a fast travel with a really long loading time.
It's just buffering. It just keeps crashing.
Fast travel with the loading time is the exact length of time it takes. That would be such a Bethesda thing to do.
That's just Red Dead 2, isn't it?
Just keeps crashing.
Yeah, good point.
In regards to different styles as well, I mean, you went to Next Gen as well with Paddy, and that podcast was great as well. Like Leon and then talking about Doggy as well, that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, then if anyone has watched that podcast and seen what Leon talked about, that was like the only thing that got left in. Lots of what Leon said got cut out.
What sort of stuff got cut out? We're free reign here. We don't know.
I'm not going to go into mega detail, but he admitted to when he was 8 cutting the brakes on some other kid's bike and just watching them like fly over the handlebars. Nearly attempted murder, I guess.
But it was banter because he was alright.
Well, he was banter because he was alright, and Leon was only 8, so yeah.
Leon's so funny as well, just like deadpan or whatever. It's like when I saw him at and you guys were at Almighty, and he's just having a laugh before he's even fighting. He's just there having a time of his life.
Yeah. He's just a funny kid, I guess.
What was he saying as well? Something like, I just don't like him. I think he's proper cheeky trying to knock me out or something like that. Afterwards it's sound, but
Yeah, like he's one of these people who sort of has to dislike someone he's fighting, I guess. I don't know. I think that tends to be the way with people from like poorer backgrounds though. Like I've sort of seemed to notice with fighters. Like, I don't know if because fighting is more just like intertwined with like the way they're living and the way they're brought up, but it tends to be like people from poorer backgrounds in the gym have been more in the sort of mindset of like they need
a survival kind of
like thing. Like they actively dislike whoever they're fighting. I don't care.
What about you, George?
Well, it's more like probably like hyperactive imagination stuff where it's kind of watch too many martial arts films, watch too many fights myself, and it's not like I've got this mean streak and desire to hurt people. It's just kind of in my head I end up a bit more like The Raid or something, or the fights I've watched earlier that day, the random K1 fights from 2001.
Just around the left way comes into mind, you start your fight, not headbutting people.
Well,
like Baby Miller, his name was, when he fought Jack Cartwright.
Headbutt.
Yeah. Is that you got that?
Sorry, you try to do Blackout vs. Art or 2006
Right,
on me.
stop fucking like. Who's gonna get that fucking reference? And it was a right body kick. I caught it. I have to cover the distance, so I threw the left hook, and he like ducked his head in that. Yeah. So it was. See, with him, if you say it's a headbutt, he gets all defensive. Like, oh, it's your fault. You did a cheeky nodder.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like the difference. A headbutt is is like a scummy move. It's like
Intentional, yeah.
intentionally trying to hit someone with your head. Bit of a scummy move. It's a cheat. A cheeky nodder is a very noble thing.
Noble man.
A cheeky
An honest
nodder,
man.
A cheeky nodder is it's like the scientific art of having your head in one place and their head happens to go into it. You know, like
Unstoppable force, immovable object.
yeah, like, and then on takedowns as well. Obviously not in training, for the most part, but yeah, you get a few nice cheeky nodders off a takedown just on the scramble. Boom, head comes in.
What happened with it? You got a fucking mint one against Kylie.
Oh yeah, in my first Bellator fight, and I actually did it. I did this takedown. There was a bit of separation, and then my head came down into his chin. And it was the second that happened, I was like, cheeky nodders. Cheeky nodders.
Jack Slackle like that. Oh, Jack Slackle like that.
Because, that's the thing with fights. You don't really have a very complicated thought process. It's just kind of weird thoughts fly around in the kind of ether.
What's the weirdest thought you've had during a fight?
I remember it wasn't even like fully fledged record fight, that went on any kind of record. It was just like interclub. That's the term. First kind of MMA competition.
Yeah.
It wasn't interclub. It was it was pretty much just a fight that didn't go on a record. And it was like 4-minute rounds. I was wrestling him loads because I came from Thai, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to wrestle loads. I don't want to just be. I just want to defend a takedown and then try and just be a striker. I just want to wrestle loads. And it was like in the second of this 4-minute round. And I'm breathing quite hard because obviously it's first interclub. You don't know how to pace yourself at that point. And I'm on top of him, and I'm just thinking, Chael Sonnen's got 40 fights. He's done this 40 times, and I'm just breathing up my ass because I've got no sense of pacing back then.
Chael.
I think it was when he was at the height of his powers. I think, wasn't it? Or was it a bit? Yeah, it was around that time where he was like
a silver fight or something like that.
It was just when he was the most famous man.
Still is.
He still is the most famous human.
What about you, Harry? What's your weirdest thought?
I threw a scorpion kick. That's a pretty weird thought to have. Like that manifested in something so fucking.
Specifically a scorpion. Is it like the Maniac Pan one, or like a Rolling Thunder that kind of got bottled?
No. I was on a double leg.
Oh.
I was on a double leg on the fence, and I was like rolling over like that, and I was like, "Is his head leaning down?" And I just sort of like tried to curl my heel over my head, and it didn't land, but it fucking come close. But I was just like, yeah, I threw a scorpion kick.
It could be a thing. Maybe.
Yeah, that was a very weird thought to have, I guess, because that actually manifested in something. And if he'd have just grabbed my foot, then I'd have been in a really weird position.
If you connected, you could have been like highlight reels forever. You could have been the man.
The thing is about the scorpion kick, though, is like in films it looks so deadly, but the place where it actually gets landed in competitions is in Shotokan karate. You'll see scorpion kicks landed ever so often, and literally all it does is they end up in a weird kind of like, not a proper clinch, that kind of points karate chest to chest. Someone just loops it over and it goes. It just like quiffs her eyebrow over, and it does absolutely nothing. But the one who lands it is like, just to make sure he gets the point.
To be fair, that is just Shotokan. Yeah. Like they'll just like, hey, ref, look, I scored a point.
Taekwondo. That's the thing with those sort of point scoring things. People get so like, you point and hold, don't you? Just want to tag you, those kind of style things. You can't help the way you train would sort of affect that as well. You think, yeah, I'm a fighter, I'm a martial artist. You're out in the street, someone happens, tag, got you. It's 1-0, cunt. 2-0.
To be fair, I have punched someone once ever, outside of sport and random fights in school. And it was like, he'd hit my friend, and then my friend had sort of like turned round funny drunk and like bounced this barrier into him. And it was just the most points karate thing I've ever done. I ran like
the side stance.
Like across this, I ran like got into my stance a little bit before I got to him, framed on his shoulder in this like karate stance, went and then like just ran off. It was just, like he just sort of
his heart in hand.
He just sort of like sort of confused, and then I just ran to check on my mate. It was just
chi energy.
I mean. I'm not going to name names, but my friend accidentally judo threw a lass in the same scuffle. The scuffle was happening on the dance floor in a club. Like the karate punch was when we all got shot out, but the scuffle was happening, and he just felt someone grab him, and he went, and then mid throw was like, oh fuck, Like, just felt terrible about it, and then got this pristine white jumper he got, just covered in wine, and he was like, oh, that was a terrible idea.
Wait, who did he throw?
Just some girl. I think it was I think it was the girlfriend of like someone who was fighting, who just sort of seen that he was friends with our friends. Like, I was just I didn't even realise what was going on. I was just stood there, and I was looking at it, oh, we're getting shot out now. But it was just like, he just got grabbed and his instinct kicked in, and he just did this throw and was like, oh shit.
Just hip on some poor girl. Slam some poor cunt for the concrete.
But yeah, I'm not naming names, but he knows who he is who did that.
You'd never forget that, Christ. But that's the thing with those kind of techniques. Like, how could you do that safely on concrete or self-defense sort of things? You've
just got to trust in their break fall.
Dance floor break fall.
Or hit them hard enough they have to roll anyway because you fucking bent their spine.
Both dance floor break fall and dance floor hip on sound like Electric Six songs that don't exist.
Fire at the disco.
Dance floor hip on.
Fire in the disco. This keeps on going. George, take it away.
Judo at the Taco Bell.
I'm calling it here.
It's peaked. Good night, everyone. Oh, fucking hell. This is the thing with his chat. It comes up with some mad as shit. Like, I was recapping the other day with someone about the story you told me on the first one. About one of your mates, the fake taxi one.
Oh, yeah. That's one of... that's one of Peter Irving's friends. But Peter Irving worked as a doorman in London for a bit.
What named him?
I'm not naming he's not involved in this story.
Oh.
Like, he's not involved in the story in the slightest. Like, it's just people he knew from working on the doors in London. So there was these two doormen in London, and one of them had his everything was going well for him. Like, everything was really going well. He was going to get married, all this stuff, and then his whole life just felt as shit. Like, really, really bad. He was really down, proper down on his luck. And then he meets this girl, and he's like, oh, saying to his doorman friend, oh, do you know what? I think she's the one. I'm so happy at the minute. This relationship's great. The doorman friend, while having a browse on the internet and in his alone time, finds the other doorman's new girlfriend on fake taxi, just in the back of a taxi. So he doesn't tell him straight away. He gets loads of screenshots of this, screenshots of this girl doing, performing, and then puts it in his friend's birthday card. So when he opens his birthday card, he just sees all this stuff. Like, he'd been just thinking she'd been going off to work doing whatever, and then turns out she'd been going off and ending up on the
I wonder why it's the same taxi driver picking her up for work every time.
It's a regular sort of subscription service.
Well, yeah, that would be a pretty horrendous day, that.
I'm late for work again, I'm so sorry. It just keeps on happening. He got lost again. He don't know where he's going by now. That's the thing. I had a comedy show the other day. It was someone said the misconceptions about the UK and that people must think we don't pay for our taxis at all. You just get away for free. It just takes ages, and it really hurts your ass. It just keeps on getting worse and worse. But there's those sort of topics, random things here and there. I don't know why I brought that up. It was just so funny, just these random sort of tangents and stuff. I think that's where you guys come across really well with Cage Warriors as well. It's just a bit of life and a bit of just being genuine. I think.
And I think we're probably the easiest fighters they've had to work with. Whenever Ian Dean's given us a fight, we're just like, yep, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Catcher it, sounds good to me. It's really baffling to me that that's a lot of fighters where, they're probably much more intelligent in that respect, but they're turning down fights. Surely you just feel shit in yourself. Imagine turning down a fight and then just imagine thinking I've been beaten by that guy before even fighting that guy. That is the most baffling thought to me. And we're just really easy to work with. We're just normal guys. Yeah.
Just normal guys, yeah.
You are referencing a Simon Amstel gag on Nevermind the Buzzcocks about Coldplay.
Oh, yeah.
That, three people in the world will get this point.
Oh yeah, so what was the joke? oh, Coldplay walk into a bar, but it's a bit crowded, so they go to a private members club, but it's not really their scene because it's just normal guys.
It's like on Extras. The Coldplay and that was so good as well. It's just an absolute cunt. But with that, that's an interesting point you made about these already beating you before you've got there. And as a professional, especially within a division where you know everyone is, you know where the top is, to then be picking and choosing when you want to be number one. It's an interesting point where you've already taken that L before you've even got in there. Like, it's an interesting sort of thought process because some people think, stylistically, where I'm at now, where I want to go, do you not feel about potentially you might have accidentally taken a fight that was beyond where you should have been at that point?
I'm just a lot more purist about it, to be honest. I'm very much, if I couldn't beat that guy, well, then it showed me what I need to work on. Or if I couldn't beat that guy, well, then I need to do more training to beat that guy, or beat the next guy, whatever. It's like, here's one example of one fight I've turned down in my pro career. So when Mehdi got COVID, and then, tested positive for COVID, because testing positive and getting COVID are completely different things, really, aren't they?
Ooh, so controversial.
But, yes. It already derailed the whole fight process at that point. I mentioned maybe doing the Harilla fight on the Saturday, the day after, like possibly feasibly doing that. Everyone like in my team that I ran that past said, no, that's a stupid idea. Just wait for the title fight. Wait for the title fight in March. When I asked Graham, even in that, and then Harilla was like featherweight, coming off a loss. Now it's like much more like exciting because he's coming off an exciting win. But then it really made no sense. But even then, a fight that made no sense whatsoever, I listened to everyone around me and I just said, okay, we're out for the title fight, which didn't happen that time, but it's going to happen this time. We're out for the title fight. Even in a sense where turning down the fight was the most logical thing to do, everyone around me was saying that. I still regret that. There's still like a purist martial arts part of me that like...
Nah, I think you should chill out, man.
Yeah, obviously on any logical wavelength, it would have made no sense to take the fight. But there's still a part that thinks, fucking should have took that fight.
No, you chill out, mate.
But, you can get the idea I'm getting at.
No, definitely. That kind of, you've signed up to fight, you want to test where you're at, regardless of whoever it is, just insert random AI here. And it's some
Random fighter select. Yeah.
it's a random shuffle.
Where's O'Neill?
Cease read.
He's He is somehow passed all the medicals to get to.
And even though below much less than the £155 limit, 120 whatever he is, does he fly out? I don't even know.
He's some weight.
Whatever you need him to be.
Bin bag weight.
But with you as well, Harry, regards to your mindset when it comes to taking fights, anything you think about in particular when it comes to choosing an opponent? Do you just...
I've been Stuart with me. I've fought ridiculously tough competition up to this point. I could have probably done with someone telling me don't do that. But what am I going to do? It's happened. I'm doing it, so it's going to keep happening.
So far, so good. I mean, definitely wear a better groin guard as well. Make sure it doesn't keep happening.
Oh, fucking...
I want that on a shirt. It's happened, I'm doing it.
It's happening, I'm doing it. So, however you write that. Yeah, I've probably... I've got a diamond guard. It's a good groin guard. I imagine with a worse one, I would be in a much worse state. Like...
As a brand, don't want it to happen.
But, like... I had a crappy, like, cheap plastic one for a pro kickboxing fight I had against Leif Taggart, who... like gone on to win world championships in kickboxing, a really good kickboxer, and he kicked me low early. I think it's just a symptom of his stance switching because I get kicked a lot, so in the dick. So I'm probably not going to be able to have kids. Who knows? But yeah, so I got kicked low and it cracked, and then like where it cracked, it kind of like started moving, and then. Like, I got kicked sort of kind of low where it kind of brushed it, and then people thought I was faking it after that one, but I wasn't. The groin guard was just moving just at this point.
Super sections.
Yeah, it was just like, it was just chaos down there. It wasn't great. And then, so then in the last two fights on the bounce, I've been kicked in the dick. So I got kicked in the dick by Ndoy after being dropped. So while I was still just... I mean, to be fair, I didn't really think I'd been dropped. I just stepped in and then I was facing the other way and I started swinging back at him and they told me off for swinging back at him. Then Des kicked me in the dick loads. And then I was at Renegade on Saturday. Little Rico, the Afghan bantamweight, Cage Warriors. I land a calf kick on him and he spins with the force of the calf kick into a spinning kick into my balls right at the end of the round. So, yeah, cheers for that, Rico. Just outing, you know.
Name and shame. He had a nice finish as well on Cage Warriors with that triangle. It was really good.
Oh yeah, he's a really really good fighter. Like definitely he's better than a 2-fight pro if you get me. Like when I've trained with him, I'm like he has got a lot of skills going on there.
When you go to these different places to spar, obviously the people also in Cage Warriors and similar weights. What kind of attitude do you have? Obviously, potentially opponents you're coming up against.
I mean, I'll be sparring Jordan tomorrow. He's the champ in my division. It's kind of weird, but no, I don't know. I'm here to do work. It's kind of, you just got to go with the intensity that they're going. Like, you know, I can't imagine Jordan's like this. He's pretty sound, but if he just decides, right, fuck it, we're scrapping, then okay, all right, fuck it, we're scrapping. If he doesn't do that, then we're not doing that. I'm not going to someone else's gym and then imposing how I think I should be sparring on another gym where they've got their practices and it's their house. Like, you don't do that. So if you go into another gym, you just go with the level that they go with. Like, I don't know. Like, I've sparred James Hendon a few times. We could be like potential opponents in the future. I mean, to be fair, my spars with Hendon have been fights. But it's just sort of like how Fisher's gym can be a little bit when there's like, you know, that's sort of how a guest sparring at Fisher's gym, and it's not like the guest comes in and then everyone's sort of going. It's like, right, so you're going in the cage. The guy sparring is going in the cage. You're doing a fight length amount of fight rounds with them, and then you can go and then you'll send you the footage and that kind of thing.
Because that's a big thing. How the gym manages fighters coming into spar, whether it's a big open mat and you've got big gloves on or whatever, and you're kind of bumping into each other, obviously dictates the volume, the intensity a bit, compared to if it's just lock you in the cage 3-5s. It's exactly how the fight timing's supposed to be. That kind of dictates a lot of the intensity as well.
Yeah, good.
You can't be like swinging at each other, tripping over each other's ankles when there's 20 people on a cram mat or whatever.
Takedowns, everything else.
Yeah, so like a Renegade on Saturday, like it was more just on the mat, and then like Joby Clayton, you know, great coach, the most charisma of any human.
Really?
Was running the session, and he was just you know, he was keeping it very on the level. Like after the spinning kick incident, he sort of like had a word with just the entire room between rounds, like kept it on the level, wanted people fighting it, like sparring at a much closer distance and taking the power out of it, so you get like more work getting done and there's less chance of you crashing into each other. But say if it was just when it was gym, you get locked in the cage, there's not a lot of that stuff to worry about. You can just sort of go for it a bit. So yeah, it's like it is different and it's just dependent on the gym, but there's benefits to all different types of sparring. Like there are obvious benefits to just getting locked in the cage and essentially simulating a fight with someone, but then there's also benefits to just being out in the open, being, you know, not having the cage to use, not having all this kind of thing, having the intensity way down. You know, there's like sparring MMA and boxing gloves and sparring MMA and MMA gloves. They both have the positives and negatives. So it's just good to get lots of different stuff in.
I'm going to say now, sparring MMA with boxing gloves is the most awkward thing I've ever seen in my life. Trying to get any kind of like connection or any kind of submission.
I don't mind it, man.
Really?
Like, yeah, like if all the AKA fighters do it, like, you know, Khabib sparred pretty much his entire career. I mean, to be fair,
Kyle's going to be doing it.
Kyle's going to be doing it.
Just normal people.
But I don't mind it too much. And then, because obviously in MMA sparring gloves, there is still a huge exposed bit of your hand out, where you've got to be really careful not to hit anyone with that exposed bit of your hand, because, like, you know, these knuckles could easily cut someone, or you know, it's just not nice, or you can knack your fingers. Whereas in a fight, you don't have to think about that as much, and in big boxing gloves, you don't have to think about that as much. So that's nice.
Gets you setting up your takedowns better. It's like it's not completely undoable. You know, there's been Sanshou for however many years where it's just been kung fu with wrestling. You know, it's just been kickboxing and wrestling on a big high platform. An unnecessarily high platform where they get points for pushing each other off. And
Do you remember Met Morris, the grappling show? That was like a huge stage and people kept falling off of it all the time.
Ring it out. Some Virtua Fighter vibes.
it never makes sense to me. It's like, imagine someone's in an armbar and then the second that he's in the armbar, they fall off. You're
like,
somewhat in some compromised position.
Some kind of like rope break kind of thing, or WWE style thing. There's so much of that kind of thing where it's just like, oh, what was it? I lost my train of thought. But that kind of idea where the platform or the cage of the arena just fucks up.
Gangrujima. Have you heard of Gangrujima, where it's like, it's a big circle and then they've got like a pit full of dry ice smoke and they all have to fight in like doggies, you know, like the sleeveless geese. Oh, it's mint.
Like Paul Phoenix off Tekken.
That is an actual thing.
That's so cool. I tell you what's gangster and so efficient and so simple. You know Karate Combat? That's all green screen in the back. Like, cause you see the actual like pit they fight in. Outside of that's just huge green screens because it's always like some sort of lava pit or some kind of like grass. You never even think about it. You think, oh, they must found some cool place to do it. No, it's just all green screens in a warehouse. I'm like, wow, this is fucking
I mean, that's
sick.
good. Like, you could make it a bit more Tekken-y, I guess. Like, because like on like Tekken 1 and 2, it was just landmarks. Like the backgrounds were just famous places.
That was a brilliant whole thing with that premise. Like the prize money for the Tekken tournament, some evil Heihachis put up the prize of $2 trillion or whatever it is, and they're just fighting in a basketball court.
Where's that budget going?
No one's watching it. No one's watching.
Such a poor business model.
Well,
all the money's purely fighter paid, nothing else going to the venue. That's what everyone thinks UFC should be.
That's real fuck you money, isn't it?
Yeah, and like well, it's not money. You also get the Zaibatsu. Like, he's giving his company away to whoever wins. Like,
but why?
To draw his enemies out. Didn't you read the manual? Like the plot in Tekken 1 and 2, like, it was not explained to anything in the game. There was just the little cutscenes and stuff. It was in the manual.
If you had some lonely fight camps or something, are you alright? How come you've read the whole manuals?
Because I was a kid and it was there, and then James was just, you know, we have an older brother, by the way.
Yeah.
We were just all watching James play because we were too young, and then he'd pick the manual up and he'd go, ah. And then James just managed to finally get to like, he finally completed a arcade run just by pressing circle over and over again. And I'm sure now, looking back on it, without telling us, he probably just put the difficulty down real easy. Because I've tried to do that since on Tekken 2 and it doesn't work.
Who would you go as in Tekken? Why is it
Like-
Yoshimitsu?
See, our dad once walked past the telly when we were playing it as a kid and just went, sloshy shit soup, ah, and now he's always sloshy shit soup.
My child has just been ruined in an instant.
You like playing as sloshy shit soup?
See that? Yeah, because that's the thing. I like, as I got into Muay Thai, I would play as Bruce Irvin more. But then you'd read the manual, and apparently he was some mad cannibal from the military. There is nothing about your character that tells me you're a mad cannibal from the military, and you've seen all this horrendous stuff.
You got so much PTSD
Like-
just oozing out.
Like, you're just like an American guy in a Muay Thai fighting outfit. It was like,
And that was the thing as well with Tekken like 1 and 2. It was like the player 1 outfit, which was like the main bit of character design, was you'd have to press triangle or square to select them, and like no one presses those to select and stuff. And that would tend to be like their fighting gear, and then like, you know, X and circle would be their normal person clothes. So but with Bruce, triangle was like some fucking cycling shorts and some hand wraps, and then with X it was Muay Thai shorts. So that implies that his casual going about clothes are Muay Thai shorts.
Just walking around, and reps on spandex on the Valley 2 days on.
Yeah.
Let's go to Sainsbury's. Just cracking on. I mean, there's so much to go into with this. But one thing with that, the same like green screen effect. You walk in the cage is green screen, everything else is green screen. What would you want to fight in? Any kind of arena?
What, so like
Tekken style.
The actual cage itself?
It's still the same material you're fighting, but the environment, the way it looks. Same like Tekken, it could be like a basketball court, it could be anything.
The Eston Nab.
What is that?
It's just at the top of a hill near our house. You get a look at all the T-sides.
I mean, depending what day you walk up, you could end up in a fight there anyway.
A real experience. Oh, that's trying to thought. most importantly,
A giant Parmo.
a giant Parmo. So, if you guys want to know Parmos, they're from North. North's got loads of cool food. Fight date, just to remind everyone. So, both Cage Warriors, Belfast.
June 25th.
And July 22nd in the O2.
O2 Arena. The world champ, the man himself, Mr. Hardwick. So, with all this stuff, before we wrap things up, a few things I want to go into, just questions you'd ask, or I'd ask for you to answer for people in general. So, when it comes to these situations, George, when you have those last-minute changes, how do you keep your head straight and things clear for making these big decisions when you have like no time to really make them?
Crying on a park bench.
In a coffin.
I mean, that's how I make most of my decisions, to be honest. Oh, what do I want for lunch? I'm going to cry on a park bench. But
Only got 45 minutes. You come back again.
It's like in most situations, just, I'll fight him. Yeah, fight him. Yeah, fight him. And then if it's a bit out the ordinary, like I was saying before, where it wasn't really making sense, or like, Harry, what do you think?
Well, I'll just shoot with that.
Because
it was a shit, like, there'd have been no point in taking that. It was just
Because in terms of like,
you were still getting paid.
Yeah.
And you already cried and been like well thrown off that by that point. Cried on a park bench eating some like spinach slice thing.
But that's the thing with our decision making. We've always got like a second there. You know, I ask you, you ask me.
Yeah.
It's varying degrees of usefulness in our replies.
Mostly not useful.
Mostly not, but.
I mean, a lot of obviously going after your team, seeing what they think as well, getting that second point of, I don't know, just assessment of the whole situation. And again, these things are really interesting because obviously you've had a few things where it's fallen out last minute. It's just beyond sort of stressful. But to stay disciplined this time round, obviously having the confidence it's going to go through this time, what keeps you in that sort of clear headspace?
I mean, what's the point in not being? It's like you just pick one thing that's real, the opponent, the date, and then any other possibility is just imaginary. So what's the point of thinking about it? I'm only thinking about opponent and date, preparation. You know, there's still like 2 and a bit months. Something could still go wrong, but nah, it's locked in stone. It's locked in stone.
Set in stone.
Which one is it?
It's locked in, or it's just set.
You set it in stone and then you lock it in, probably into a dark box or something. But
what I want in this podcast is a separate camera of Harry just reactions to George talking.
But
I don't know what, I just doubt.
Everything's just, in terms of fighting, it's just set in stone. I'm fucking losing my speech here. It's set in stone until it either happens or it isn't.
No, fantastic. On that note, guys, your social media, where can people find you?
Harry I Hardwick on Instagram. I'm going to get a Twitter now. Elon Musk's bought it. I'm hoping Harry Hardwick MMA is an available handle, and I might actually have Twitter before this goes out. So I'm
follow.
Just
What exclusive?
Follow Harry Hardwick MMA, and then I'm just going to hope to fuck there's no other Harry Hardwicks doing MMA.
If so, unfollow that Harry Hardwick MMA and go to Harry I Hardwick.
Unfollow that one.
And George?
And George Hardwick MMA on Instagram, and something I didn't think I'd say at the start of the year, George Hardwick MMA on TikTok.
Where he rants about
That's something I want to get into as well. Your TikTok is quality. And again, the beans, I'm going to go into that. I put beans in my lunch for this week purely because of that. The red kidney beans are for you, my friend.
They're a good one, kidney beans. They're some of the best. In terms of nutritional quality, I think it's black beans are at the top in terms of nutrient density. Yeah, but kidney beans are up there as well. But yeah, just that was the thing. I got TikTok. I'll post this stupid shit because I think, well, no one I know sees it. It's just people in India or whatever. And you know,
That's your entire clientele. All of Cager is just you.
Or you know, Sudan. That's another country.
That's another country. Yeah.
But then,
out there. There are many countries that are out there.
But suddenly I post stuff, and then I'm ranting about beans, and then in the comments it's like, what time's the classes on at MFA? Like, no.
The guy turned up because of that. The guy was a comment. He turned up at the gym and started training because of George's bean rant.
I mean, all publicity is good publicity, isn't it?
Just going to double down.
Is it though?
Just going to double down on posting videos with too much text for you to read within the small time frame, so you have to watch it again and then it loops. And
What we've missed there is the absolute trick that when it comes to any referral, what's the first thing it always says? Is how did you find this? And the response is Facebook, no. Friend, no. Social media, other. I found this man talking about beans online. I feel inspired to take on the world. What time's MMA beginners?
Yeah, I might get a TikTok. George was inspired to get a TikTok when Instagram took down a post because he called someone. Fuck it, I'm saying he had a guy pull out because they got arrested, and George wasn't sure if he could say it or not, so said he was a daft gun. But I'm not George, so I'm saying it. And then that post got took down.
yeah, because TikTok's a bit more free for all. To be honest, you get all sorts of random shit that get pulled off Instagram. So
The community guidelines are very selective. But on that note, shout out to our sponsor, the English Hypnotist. He's been fantastic supporting me and loads of guys in the community. Fantastic guy, Richard Hart, so check him out. But thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated.
Merci
Thank
beaucoup.
Doing it on.
Training.